Hi, we're Richard and Jackie from Early Retirement Wanderlust, and we're partway through our 7-week Spanish and Portugal road trip.
And we have a confession for you. We've been spending the last week travelling through the Picos de Europa, and when it came to the editing of that, we had so many wonderful experiences that we wanted to share with you that it was going to be over 40 minutes of video. So we've decided to split it in two. So welcome to part 2 of our adventures in the Picos de Europa National Park.
Morning.
Morning.
So we've made a conscious decision that we are going to slow down a little bit in our travels, and we have not done a huge amount over the last 24 hours, which has been lovely. We found a really nice campsite with the Axi card system, Camping La Viona, I think it was called, which was near the village of Potes, and we just had a really nice day chilling out and relaxing by the pool.
And you've seen from our plans, we were thinking of just doing a longer drive, but it was just too nice an opportunity. The forecast's now mid-20s and today it's given out 30. So yeah, it's forcing us to slow down, but we're really enjoying slowing down.
After just randomly picking the campsite because it was an Axi campsite and it was the closest one to Potes, we made a really good choice. It had 2 swimming pools, it had a bar, a restaurant and a little shop that sold bread and all sorts of things, and it was just a really friendly campsite. It was really busy.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you have to get in early, I think, because we arrived round about lunchtime and it felt really quiet.
It did.
And slowly but surely, as we were sat by the pool, so they kept coming until the night time. It was pretty full and the facilities were great. So let's have a very quick cut to rate my shower. Welcome to Camping La Viona. Beautiful traditional facilities with local wood features. A roomy shower cubicle in a spotless and well-maintained condition. The welcome addition of bench seating fitting with the overall design style. A spotlessly clean shower cubicle, no matter what the time of day. Traditional hot-cold taps to personalised temperature requirements. Rather ordinary shower head, but providing a good spray diameter of constant hot water. Back of the door hooks, supplemented with additional stick-on hooks, a place that recognises the importance of good hookage. A small but important note that cleaning products were always available to encourage self-management of the washroom facilities. Overall strengths, cleanliness, hot water and the number of showers. Areas to develop, more shelving surfaces for shower accoutrements. Overall, a very impressive score of 45 out of 50 for Camping La Viona in Potes, Spain.
Using the Axi card, the campsite was actually only €23 per night, and they didn't charge any tourist tax, which is quite a surprise in Spain, because when we were in Slovenia and Croatia last year, some of the tourist taxes could actually take up to €10 by the time they'd added that onto our bill. So a really good value campsite.
And today we fancied a bit of a drive, and we thought it was just going to be a road that would circumnavigate this mountain range, but no, it cut straight through the middle of it, and we came up the
Rio Santa Gloria, I think it's called.
Which was a huge mountain pass, and we've just come to the very top and found a little viewpoint, and we've got a little bit of company behind us, as you can hear. They've also got a dog friend that looks out after them up here in the mountains, so we're just wondering whether there's any predators around here, because who knows why the dogs are out with them.
It's a really, really beautiful spot though. There's a gorgeous bear statue. We did a bit of a hike to get to him. We've come for a bit of a hike because we could hear the cowbells just to see them. So we're slowly going to make our way now to one of the ends of the Ruta del Carres in a village called Can. We've been there before. It's a really pretty village, and actually we didn't want to return to somewhere that we've been before, but there's an inn that we want to stay at, and that's on the side of the mountain that we haven't been to. The Ruta del Carres is about a 13-kilometre hike, so we stayed at the other end last time. So after our lunch, we're just going to poodle our way sort of back into the mountains and see where we end up.
We are in the beautiful mountain village of Caen, and I hope the video footage of the drive down does it justice, because it was lively to say the least. It was single track, it was all the way down a gorge, and this tiny little village is right in the heart of the Picos de Europa, and it's just where the mountains are split. It's quite incredible to get here, so we're going to have a wander up the gorge.
Wow, that was an interesting drive down to Caen. I am really glad that I wasn't driving. It was twisty, it was turny, it was narrow, and the road was cut into the cliffs so that it overhangs you. So I think if you were anything much bigger than a VW, you'd really struggle to get down there. But we got there.
I had no fear because I was literally gripping on for grim death and focusing on only 2 meters ahead of me on the road. It was one of the most interesting drives we've done, but it was really nice to go back to Caen after 2 years. And this time round, we definitely had fresher legs.
We did. Last time we did it, we'd already walked 12 kilometres in sort of 28 degrees heat to get to Caen, and we were just desperate for a cold, cold drink and an ice cream. Whereas this time, we were fully refreshed. We had no intentions of walking the Ruta del Carres. We just decided we were going to go for a bit of a swim. It was 30 degrees and the water was freezing.
It was really cold. I think it made us both squeal. I could not cope with it. It was just that bitter cold. So it was a quick dip in, quick dip out, and then actually sitting on the warm rocks was really pleasant. But yeah, it was really good to revisit, a beautiful place, not easy to get to, but we'd thoroughly recommend it for you.
And if you haven't done the Ruta del Jerez and you're in that area, it is a 12-kilometre hike each way. You have to go both ways to get back to your original point. There is no public transport to get you around. It's beautiful. It's a very steep, cliff-sided walk that follows a very narrow canal. It's beautiful. And then talking about things that are really cold, we were staying at an inn just about 10 kilometres outside of Caen in a really pretty little village called Posada de Baldion.
And it was a community facility based around the leisure centre, and it was a really well organised inn. It was electronic registration, so Jackie took over all of that and it just seemed to work seamlessly. You had to book a slot and it all just worked really well. The barriers went up, we had our own allocated space with a little bit of grass, and it was in a beautiful location.
It was only €15 a night. It had, and I'll let Richard talk about it in a minute, access to toilets and a shower, and you got electric hookup for the price. But I didn't have a shower for a particular reason.
Yeah, and I'm not going to show rate my shower on this because it's not fair. It was a community facility. The facilities were spotless. But if I take you back to your old PE days in a sports hall changing room with communal showers, all that was missing was a PE teacher with a register ticking your name off as you went in. It was the coldest shower I've ever had, and I'm happy to admit that I absolutely shrieked when I went under there, but I was a bit minging, so I needed a wash, but yeah, not to be revisited.
I just stayed smelling after he came back and said there was no hot water in the showers. So today we're moving on. We are heading around the Picos a little bit and we are going to a little village called Covadonga. So we'll see what we get up to.
It might be a different country, but some things don't change. Jackie, cow bothering, like the best of them. We are currently at the Lago de Covadonga, and despite it being beautiful, Jackie's just a little bit traumatised.
We drove up and the weather was actually quite calm, a little bit sunny, but it was going a little bit darker. We got to the top by the lakes and the heavens opened. There was a huge thunder and lightning storm and there was a huge herd of cows and they were so traumatised and didn't know what to do with themselves with all of the thunder and lightning. But the calves with them, they were just jumping around and really scared. It was quite sad to watch.
Yeah, I think if we'd have had room in the van, she'd have had a few of them in there just to shelter them and calm them. But like most things in the mountains, it turned really quickly, but then it also turned good really quickly. And an hour later, and it's beautiful. We've got the most amazing cloud structure behind us, which looks like something out of Harry Potter. The Dementors are on the way.
So we'll do a little bit of a twirl just to show you the views. There is 360-degree views from here and it is stunning.
Now we're counting ourselves really lucky because this is actually the last day of the off season. So it's the last day that you're able to drive up here, and it was quite a drive.
Wow, I've never seen so many hairpin bends in such a short stretch. It was actually really beautiful, but I'm glad I wasn't driving.
Yeah, even for me, I normally like my hairpin bends and my high mountain roads, but it was the fact that they're unprotected and there were no verges, so there weren't even soft verges. So I was really worried about where the edge of the road was when you were having to pass people, but worth it to get up here. And the benefit of being in Nelson is that we can stay up here for a few hours, wait for the light conditions to get better, and then we'll head down the valley and find somewhere to stay.
Just to note, obviously, after today, you can't drive up until the 30th of September. So there is a bus from the valley. There's a huge car park in the valley. It's €9 per person. And I think it is definitely worth coming up. Apparently, it does get really busy in the summer. It's quite quiet today, I think, because of the weather.
After a lovely day in the high mountains and a dedicated day of cow bothering, have you changed your view on your favourite cow?
I don't think so. Highland cows are still my favourite ones because of their little furry faces and their fluffy ears. But these Spanish cows are gorgeous. They've got faces like jerseys, but they've still got big horns. They are beautiful. No surprises, we're having chili again tonight. This is the third night and we've only been here 6 nights because we bought some mince and we cooked a really nice batch of chili a few days ago, and we're not wasting anything because we are still trying to live on our early retirement budget. So far we've been in Spain for 6 days and we've just worked out we are under budget. We've spent €145 because we've got €25 a day.
Just to clarify, we are mixing it up a little bit with the chili. So we've had chili dogs, we've had chili with rice, and tonight we're having chili with nachos. And we haven't kept it just in the fridge, we've frozen it as well. So we are trying to live our normal life whilst on the road. And one of the things we're trying to do is to make sure that we don't drink as much beer. One of the great finds of this trip is in Spain, the non-alcoholic beers and the low alcoholic beers are amazing. So Amstel make a 2% Radler, but that's really helping because at the end of the day, when you just want a cold beer, this suffices. We hope you can see that we had such a wonderful day yesterday in the high mountains. It obviously makes it 10 times easier when you can drive up there, and it actually makes it 10 times more fun because the drive in itself is a bit of an adventure. But before we knew it, time had got ahead of us and we came down the mountain really quite late.
I think it was about 7 o'clock before we actually got down to the village of Covadonga. It is a really beautiful village and it's got a huge, I think it's a big cathedral there, the Basilica de Santa Maria. And when we got there, there was a wedding just about to begin. There was all the bridesmaids on the doorstep and all the men and women dressed up, and they were just waiting for the bride. So we didn't do a huge amount of filming because it felt a little bit intrusive.
It was so romantic and it was so lovely. And top tip, if you are thinking of going to Covadonga, go later in the day because the tour parties have disappeared and we pretty much had the village to ourselves.
There's also a really cute tiny little chapel that's set in the cliffside that you can actually go and have a look around. We weren't sure if it was open because we were there so late in the evening. And then Richard whisked us off down the valley.
Yeah, talking of romance and weddings in the air and things like that. I'd like to say that I treated Jackie to a free air just a short distance down the valley. It could be described as a free air or it could be described as a car park, but I would say it was perfectly adequate.
It was definitely a car park, and actually it was fab. It, like Richard said, it's free. It has absolutely no facilities, but it was a great big airy place to stay. It was really quiet for the night. We were joined by about 4 or 5 other vans. Perfect.
But the weather this morning is spoiling itself, and in true Jackie and Richard fashion, we have no idea about what we're going to do now because it's sort of scuppered our plans a little bit.
We had a plan A and a plan B. We really want to go to the coast and spend some time at the seaside and the beaches because we've not done much of that yet this trip, or we can go down south towards Salamanca because the weather's better there.
But the weather is not looking particularly great on the north coast, so you're going to have to wait till next week to find out where we end up because even we don't know where we'll end up. But that's it from us, so we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.